Cinderace is definitely the best auto attacker in this game. Incredible jungler even in solo queue so long as you've got your team synergies right. You don't take this Pokemon into the lane, you take him to carry the experience into the jungle, and the value you can do at objectives and at team fights is incredible. Now without wasting too much time, I'm going to talk through both of the sets and the skills. So I'm going to start off with my favorite set, which is the BlazeKick and FlameCharge. Now when you're using FlameCharge, you can choose to dash in any direction, but this move is simply just a dash. So I kind of think of this skill as a second eject button, which adds to the extreme mobility of this character. Now the second skill is BlazeKick, which you just saw, and it is incredible mobility. Here you can see you have to actually lock on to the target, and then once you lock on to the target, you are going to hit that target and then you pivot away in a particular direction. Similar to FlameCharge, you put 360 degrees, you can move around. So that's kind of like the basics of FlameCharge and BlazeKick. The plus version of them, FlameCharge is really not a big deal. BlazeKick, however, will increase your basic attack speed when you get to level 11. So you definitely want to be prioritizing getting to level 11 as soon as you can in the game, because as you can see with this character, all you're doing is basic attacking. The skills don't do a lot of damage themselves, right? The skills are mobility, all your damage is coming from your basic attacks. So you really need to know how to kite an enemy, and you need to kind of have some map awareness of where the enemies are and where you want to pivot to. Now let's talk about PyroBall. This is a skill that does quite a chunk of damage, it's got great range, and it's a skill shot. It does take a little bit of time to cast, so just be mindful of this. Now Feint is a skill that will make you feel cool because you can dodge something from an enemy for a short amount of time. So I'm going to play that again. You can see I get engaged on by the Dragonite, but it doesn't do anything because I dodged it with Feint. Now the plus version of these moves, Feint plus, not really a big deal. However, if you can see on the timer, if you hit PyroBall plus onto the enemy, it's going to reduce the cooldown of Feint. Now as for Cinderace's stats, he's got some pretty nice stats. His crit rate and lifesteal are what makes him really, really solid. And his ability's kind of like okay. You really don't want to get that low with Cinderace to pop that passive ability. And the boosted auto, all it's really doing is doing additional damage, which is really nice because you're probably constantly boosted autoing with this Pokemon. So I just want to touch quickly with Cinderace, what he pairs well with, what's good support for him, and kind of like be careful when you're versing these Pokemon because they can dive you and they can kill you. Now I'm not going to go over every single Pokemon here because keep in mind with Cinderace that when you're kiting the enemy, typically you've got mobility over pretty much every Pokemon. However, I'm going to list some great supporting Pokemon. So generally the supporters aren't actually the best support for Cinderace because he's too fast and mobile, and they can't heal him, right? So for example, Clefable is really not that great at supporting Cinderace. What you want with Cinderace is you want vision, and you want an enemy that's able to kind of CC and trap the enemy if they try and dive you, or if they're trying to get away, right? So I would say Wigglytuff Sing is good support. I would say Slowbro is incredible support. I would say Crustle gives vision and is good support because of that. I would also say Blastoise is a great support, right? Greedent is like one of your dreams, right? Because the Pokemon is constantly moving forward and giving you good support. For example, if you had your option between, oh, do I want a Greedent or do I want a Ninetales? Ninetales will typically stay in the back line and won't give you that much vision. You're the Cinderace, you stand at the back line and you're following your team up doing a lot of damage. So that's why you want these Pokemon to help support you, right? Trevenant, incredible. So it's and same as Mamoswine, right? So it's mainly if you've got two defenders or like a defender and a tanky supporter and no one's locked in jungle, you want to pick Cinderace in this situation. Cinderace is incredible. If you've got 4 attackers on your team, don't pick Cinderace because you're not going to be able to get the most out of this Pokemon. Now, what to be careful for? Okay, Gengar can come out of the bush. It can use its Unite move, and it goes invisible and can go into the enemy backline. So you need to be very careful of a Gengar. And Absol has the ability to dive you really, really quickly, especially if they're hiding in the bush to try and scout you out. And they do a lot of burst damage. So you need to be very, very careful of an Absol. An extreme speed Lucario can cause you some problems. If you've ever versed a good extreme speed Lucario and you are not on your A game with Cinderace, you're going to get carved, right? So you've got to be super, super careful, okay? Talonflame with Fly, if it really tries to give you a good crack, you could be in a bit of trouble. So again, when you're versing these Pokemon, it doesn't mean that you insta-lose. It means that if you know that there is an enemy Absol at the team fight, you need to be careful and you need to make sure you've got vision on that enemy Absol, right? Same as Greninja is a big threat because it'll smoke screen and then it comes out of nowhere, use it your night move, and then it surfs you. Okay, so all I'm saying is with these Pokemon, you need to be very, very careful. Decidueye, if he hits you with an arrow, you can be in all sorts of trouble. All sorts of trouble. Okay, Decidueye's got fantastic mobility to be able to run away. So if he's sitting at the back line, Decidueye will actually outrange you. So again, you need to be careful. If you can see the enemy, they can see you. And if the enemy has a Decidueye, he's going to be able to snipe you. I would say Mew Solar Beam and Venusaur Solar Beam, again, they're just be mindful of them. They can honestly cause you quite a bit of trouble. The rest of these Pokemon, oh no, and Zeraorc. Zeraorc is really scary, Zeraorc's mobility, and Dodrio too. Dodrio's mobility as well. So a lot of these, it's Pokemon that have either got extreme range or they've got the mobility to dive past your past your front line and do a lot of burst damage at once. Those are the Pokemon you need to be careful for. Okay, if you're up against Garchomp, Machamp, Mr. Mime, actually Charizard, you can kind of put on that list only because of the Unite move. And I'm going to put him at the end there because you need to be careful of that Charizard Unite move. If he picks you up and slams you onto the ground, you're dead. So if Charizard gets that close to you, you be sure that you've probably lost that fight. Okay, the rest of these Pokemon, like, you have the mobility with BlazeKick and FlameCharge. I'm going to hone in on that set because that is in my opinion, the much better set to be using. You can pivot around these Pokemon. You can kite them. If you're into a matchup where you've got two of these Pokemon that are great support and you're not versing any of these Pokemon to be careful of, you are in for a fantastic, fun match with Cinderace. Now the build with Cinderace is Scope Lens and Muscle Band are your two non-negotiables. The third item is a little bit variable. I like to go Razor Claw, but there's Rapid Fire Scarf as an option. I'd probably go one of those two. Now early game Ember, you can think of that as like a poor man's PyroBall, and Low Sweep is like a poor man's FlameCharge. Okay, the cooldowns are a little longer and the damage is definitely not up to scratch. Now your early game is pretty simple. You do your jungle clear, you go to a gank, and you pretty much go here and you hold the A button, right? You keep your distance and you make sure that you're careful. You've got the eject and low sweep so you can get out of situations. You can see I got caught really badly by the Wigglytuff's passive ability, which was not great, and it happens again, and you're going to see it happen for a third time. However, you just stay there, you don't back out unless if you're absolutely going to die. You just keep A pressing from a distance. You're not really interested in the farm. You're kind of interested in the farm once it is freed up. However, you're playing with your team, you're helping them get online and do a lot of pressure in a lane. After that, really your goal is to hit level 9 by the 7-minute mark. So here I'm on track for it. Now their team is here at the B, so we had one of our teammates there. And honestly, I shouldn't have re-engaged here. Okay, I wasn't winning that, and then the Wigglytuff catches me with Sing, and I die. Alright, so honestly, probably not the best play from me. So I get to that level 9, probably about 20 seconds too late. The bottom's already lost, and the team's up at the top lane. So it's solo queue, guys. You play with your team. Now by this point, you've got your BlazeKick and your FlameCharge, so your mobility is going to be awesome. You're going to be able to pivot around and dash around and do damage from the back line. So you must be playing with your team. You don't go to a bottom objective by yourself with Cinderace. You play with your team, right? You help them score. You A press from the back line, and that's what you do. Now when I say A press and B press, if you hold A, you're going to be doing damage to enemies, and if you hold B, you're going to be doing damage to the farm. You want to be A pressing because you're not interested in farming at a team fight. You're interested in doing a lot of damage to the enemies. Right, so you can see a bit of a common theme here is if you get a little too deep, you've got FlameCharge and a eject button to help you get out of that bad situation. The eject button, you can use it aggressively sometimes, however, that's probably a lot more rarer than usual. So this is an example of me using the eject button aggressively. I can see I want to get in there and do damage to the enemies and try and secure this objective. However, I've been out-secured by the Wigglytuff, which is okay, because we follow up and we A-press to get some kills. We look for score if it's there, and then really we just look to move on. Okay, I don't want to fight this Lapras on its goal zone. Okay, so I'm just supporting my own Lapras. I'm A-pressing from the distance, and I'm backing out, right? I don't want to get too close, because if I engage here, their team can see that I've been deep. I've been on their vision for quite some time. So if I overcommit, their team is going to be there. And as you can see, our team is kind of there, like half of our team, but their entire team is here. So this is where this is where the mobility pays off, right? I'm defending this goal zone, and why would I defend it from, you know, directly in front of them if I can do it from over the wall, right? That's something Cinderace is incredible at. And a lot of the damage that I'm doing is just coming from A-pressing. So it's being at the right place and working with your team. You don't want to be alone with this Pokemon. The only time you're alone is when you're doing a jungle clear to go from top path to bottom path, or vice versa. Now, the last time you can use your Unite move is at the 4-minute mark. Don't use your Unite move at 3-minute 30. You need to have that Unite move when the Rayquaza is starting, when the fight is breaking out. So do not use that Unite move past the 4-minute mark, otherwise you are risking not being useful for your team. Here you can see I'm not diving into the action, right? I'm not getting too close to the enemy. I'm A-pressing them from a distance where my team is in their face, which is why the good synergies of having defenders will be really, really helpful. So now we prep for this Rayquaza fight, and there's a couple of things here. Have a look at your level. If you can get your level to tick over late game with Cinderace, the difference in attack speed is absolutely insane. So if I'm able to get level 15 instead of 14, or level 14 instead of 13, it's great for your stats, but Cinderace in particular, that attack speed goes through the roof, especially when you use your Unite move, and especially when you've got your Blaze Plus. So you engage with the Unite move. Don't save it to try and secure the objective. That's setting yourself up for failure. Okay, you engage with it because it does a lot of damage, and it does a lot of secure as well onto the enemies, not the objective, right? So if an enemy's low and you hit them with the Unite move, you're going to do a lot of damage. Now, Cinderace, one thing he does incredibly well is he rips an objective. So once you are in the position to, you rip the objective after helping your team fight. You don't sit in the bush and wait to secure the objective. The character is too good at team fighting for that. So Cinderace can be amazing as long as you use him properly. I really hope that this guide is helpful, whether you're going to be using the PyroBall set or whether you're going to use the BlazeKick set. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, please give it a like and comment saying one of your favorite things about Cinderace. Thanks guys, and have a very good day.